Some DIYs are totally worth it. They elevate your space, they look expensive, and they come with a story you actually want to tell. But other DIYs, they look like you tried to save money and ended up losing time, money, and probably your entire weekend doing that. So I'm going to give you my honest take based on past experiences with DIYs, analyzing the cost, the end result, the time frame, and the effort. So let's start with my all-time favorite one. DIY number one, sculptural wall art. This one is a favorite because it's so customizable and the final result can really look high-end. So this one can go two ways. If you want something minimal and raw, the plaster-only version is perfect. But if you want it to feel a little bit more dramatic and marble looking, then I would go with the fabric-based version. You can also make a grid composition with 2 or 3 smaller canvases or one really big oversized piece. So what materials do we need for this DIY? We need a canvas or an MDF base that you can find at Michael's, Home Depot, or just like an art supply store. Also, we need joint compound or plaster, the palette knives or spatulas. You can find them on Amazon. And we need the fabric and the paint. The estimated cost for this, depending on how big your canvas is, it can be anywhere from 60 to 120 bucks. And the time frame will be around 2 to 4 hours on 2 different days. So what's the verdict of this? It's totally worth it. It's sculptural, it's forgiving, and feels like something you would find in a gallery. Plus, it's really fun to make. DIY number 2 would be a stone look pedestal. A pedestal can make even a $5 vase look like a design object. And you can fake the stone look for a fraction of the cost. So what materials do we need for this one? We need joint compound, we need primer, and the paint, something like faux stone spray, and sandpaper. All of that, you can find it at Home Depot. The estimated cost for this is between 40 to 80 bucks, and the time frame around 2 to 3 hours plus drying. What's the verdict for this? It's totally worth it. It gives structure and depth to a space and can blend in or stand out depending on the finish. Now let's go with DIY number 3, sculptural candle holders. These are great if you want a quick win. You just need to use air dry clay to mold your own organic shape. And what materials do we need for this? So the air dry clay or plaster, you can find it at Amazon, Michael's, or even Walmart. The candle insert or the taper at IKEA, Dollarama, Amazon. And the sealer, this is optional, but then it's better if you want to clean it afterwards. You can look for a spray sealer or clear matte top coat. The estimated cost for this is around $10 to $15, and the time frame will be around 1 to 2 hours maximum. You can just shape it by hand and you don't have to worry or overthink it because the imperfections here look great. Now, DIY number 4, real travertine side table. This one is bold and simple. People are making stunning side tables, even like coffee tables, using real travertine slabs. Usually they use 2 for the base to form a T shape and 1 on top. It's heavy, but the final look feels designer. The materials that you need for this, depending on the design, you're gonna need around 3 travertine tile or slab. You can go to Etsy for smaller quantities. You can also go to stone suppliers, flooring stores. They usually would have these leftovers for sale, so you can find them there. We're going to need a strong adhesive. You can look for PL Premium at Home Depot. And also we're gonna need some felt pads for the base that you also can find them at Amazon or Home Depot. The estimated cost for this would be around $100 to $200. I know it's on the expensive side, but you're gonna have such a high-end piece for a fraction of the price. The time frame, this is pretty easy, probably 1 hour. You just need to put all the pieces together and apply the adhesive, and you just put the top on, and that's basically it. So what's the verdict for this? I think it's totally worth it. It's also a sculptural, timeless, and surprisingly simple. So for me, it's a yes. Let's now go with DIY number 5, the ancient pottery vase. This one's everywhere for a reason. You can fake that aged, chalky ceramic look for cheap. So the materials we need for this, we need to go to a thrift store such as Goodwill, Valley Village, or local vintage shops and look for a vase. We need vases with organic shapes and something that it's more on the bold side or the bigger side. We're also going to need baking soda plus the paint and sand optional for the extra grit, and then the sealer. All of that you can find it at Home Depot as well. For the paint, let's try to go for the matte option. The estimated cost for this is around 10 to 20 bucks. So worth it. And the time frame, probably 1 to 2 hours. 2 hours mostly because you need to protect where you're going to do the painting and all of that. But other than that, it's pretty simple and fast. And lastly, let's go with DIY number 6. I had to put this because that's a DIY that I actually attempted myself, and it's a faux stone console. It's visually stunning, but requires precise building and finishing for a clean look. It's not a great first time DIY for sure, but the end result is actually amazing. So the materials and all the step-by-step process is in the YouTube that I'm gonna put on the screen here. But we're gonna need MDF, we're gonna need expansion foam, we're also going to need a mesh, paint. It's a little bit on the expensive side of the DIYs, and the estimated cost can be between $150 and $300, and the time frame I would say around 3 days to a week, depending on how much time you have available to spend on your DIY. And what's the verdict for this? Maybe worth it. It looks amazing if it's done right, but it's also time consuming, it's heavy and messy, so it's definitely not weekend friendly unless you're experienced or also have some help. Okay, and that gets me to the DIYs that I truly believe are not worth your time, your money, your weekend. Not every DIY is going to look good. And I wanted to share with you why I think these 2 DIYs are not worth your time, because there's a high percentage of failure. The first DIY that is not worth your time is building your own sofa. Building a sofa is probably a full-time job, unless you want it for a specific space or shape and already know how to build frames and upholster. It's not worth your time and money. Usually you need a lot of plywood for the frame, high density foam that can actually be really expensive, batting and fabric, a staple gun, and lots of screws. The estimated cost for these kind of DIYs, without even thinking about the tools that you have to rent or buy, is between $300 to $600. So it's actually pretty expensive. And if you try to find a brand new couch, can be probably in the same range, and it probably already looks really good. The time frame for this kind of DIYs are between 20 to 40 hours and can be even more than that if you already have a full-time job. So the verdict for this kind of DIYs, I would say the time, the cost, and risk of it looking bad just don't add up unless you really know what you're doing. And the last DIY that I truly believe is not worth your time is building your own dining table. Trust me, I have thought about it multiple times, and every time I come back to the same issue. And is that dining tables, they need to be strong, stable, and stain resistant. There's nothing worse than a wobbly table when someone leans on it, or a finish that stains the moment you spill a glass of wine. On top of that, this DIY takes a lot of space, time, tools, and money, of course. You might spend more building it than buying one secondhand or even a new one. I have to say though that if you want a specific look and that table costs around $10,000, then I will think about it and try to do it myself. The materials you usually need for these are hardware or plywood sheets, wood for the legs and the base. You need glue, screws, sander or sandpaper, wood stain or finish, and protective top coat. So the estimated cost for these kind of DIYs can be between 300 to even 600 depending on the wood, and the time frame can be around 15 to 30 to 45 to even 60 hours depending on the design of the table. So the verdict for this is just not worth it. Between the tools, the finishing materials, and effort, it's often cheaper and much easier to find a quality piece on Facebook Marketplace. And unless you're experienced, this one's better left to the pros. So some of these are totally worth it for the experience and the final result, but others might be better to skip. Let me know if there's one you want to see me actually try next. Thanks for watching, and if you like this honest breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe to support what I do. See you next time.